My name is Matt Kirchner. I am president of ATS Lab Midwest, and today we're talking about 3D printing.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited to get to talk to you all about Lab Midwest and what it is that you guys do. So could you tell us a little bit about your company and the services that you provide?
Absolutely. We are the largest distributor of technical education learning systems in 7 U.S. states. So we do business from Michigan on one end of our territory to North and South Dakota and Nebraska on the other end of our territory. We like to joke about the fact that you could literally drive in fewer hours from Detroit in the southeast part of our territory to Miami in fewer hours than you could drive from the eastern part of our territory to the western part of our territory. So it's a lot of geography. And as I mentioned, we are the largest distributor of learning systems that are used across every aspect of education. We say from K to grade. So from kindergartners, people just starting their educational journey, all the way through industrial employers. And a significant part of our business are industrial employers upskilling their incumbent workforce. We also work with universities, with technical and community colleges, and K-12 districts all over our territory to provide STEM learning, to provide industrially relevant learning to their students and learners.
That's incredible. It sounds like you have a lot to cover, and I'm sure you've got a great team to do that. Can you tell us a little bit about your team, the size of your team, and who you've got out there?
So let's start with this. Every single day of the week, there are at least a dozen ATS Lab Midwest employees and team members in the field with customers. So our business happens in the field, on the floors of the labs, in the classrooms, in the industrial manufacturing facilities. And so our team spends a tremendous amount of time out in the field with those folks. We've got full-time business development people. We have 2 full-time technicians that do nothing but support our customers either virtually or in person. We have a full team in our office. So we have an office manager, we have an accounting team, we have a phenomenal marketing team. So people that handle all of our social media, all of our webinars, our podcasts, our digital presence, and so on. So it's a pretty vast team, and people that are 100% committed to the future of STEM and manufacturing education.
That's incredible. What can somebody expect when working with the Lab Midwest team?
Well, the first thing that they can expect is that we will never let them fail at anything. You can talk to any customer, anybody, and literally anybody that we have done business with in our 50 years, and not a single one of them will tell you that they weren't completely supported by our team. We have what we call the Lab Midwest half-day rule, which means that if a customer calls us with a question, a concern, an issue, at a minimum, they will receive a phone call or an email back within the same half day. So we get back to them very quickly. Doesn't always mean we can completely solve the problem in 4 hours, but we will definitely respond, and they will know that we're working on that solution. The second thing that they can expect is if we partner with a supplier, that supplier is absolutely number one in their space. We won't take a number 2 product. We will stay out of a space before we go to market with somebody who is number 2. All of our suppliers are committed to R&D, to innovation, to gold standard service excellence, and so on. And so when we walk in the door with a solution from a supplier, they know that they get the combination of amazing service from the ATS Lab Midwest team and absolutely cutting edge education technology and curriculum from that supplier that we're representing.
Tell us a little bit about the product lines that you offer to schools. I know you said, all the way down from K and up, so I'm sure that's a lot. Tell us a little bit about that.
Great question. They really fit into 2 baskets, and those baskets overlap. STEM is a huge part of what we do. So as we know, that stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And we work with K-12 districts, for example, all over those 7 states, implementing STEM learning programs for their students and for their learners. And so that can be anything from an engineering project, from a science project, learning physics, learning applied math, which is really, really important to us. We get into things like autonomous vehicles, drones, technology similar to that. So that part of things is really, really exciting. We love industry 4.0 level, if you will, type technology. So as we move into the 4th industrial revolution, as advanced manufacturing becomes even more advanced, working with our customers to apply that type of technology is a great opportunity as well. As we get into our technical and community colleges, the learning becomes a little bit more applied but no less hands-on and no less intriguing and no less engaging. So we work with suppliers, world-class suppliers, as we suggested, from all over the globe. And Levil is certainly one great example of that. We're proud of the fact that we work with Levil through our relationship with FANUC, the largest robotics and CNC company in the world, absolutely world-class company. We have a phenomenal relationship with a company called Amatrol out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. #1 industrial skills learning company in the world, without question. We've been their distributor since 1979, believe it or not.
Wow.
So that goes back quite a ways. Quantzer is another one. We're doing a lot of research level projects with Quantzer at the university and the technical college level. MSSC is another great supplier of ours, where we're teaching people frontline manufacturing skills, which are great for individuals who are just starting their careers in manufacturing. So we like to keep our supply base to about 16, 15 suppliers in that range. We're not running around trying to sell 50 different products. I want our team members to be very, very knowledgeable and very intimately familiar with the technology they're presenting to their customers. And so we limit that number to a handful, including Levil, of world-class companies that we have the opportunity to represent.
That's great. I'm sure that, keeping it smaller, you become more experts in those fields and you're better able to serve your customers. So that's great.
Precisely.
So you've got a customer out there and you've given them all this great information, but they want to see some of these things in person. Is that an option with Lab Midwest?
It's absolutely an option. We were one of the first companies, probably the first company of our kind, to have a destination where our customers could come. So all the way back in 2015, we opened up our tech center in Mequon, Wisconsin, just north of Milwaukee. We expanded that by about 3 times in 2017. So it's now 3 times bigger than it was when we started it. And that is a destination where people can come to see technology of all kinds, all the types of technology we've already talked about today. We opened it hoping that we would have people that wanted to come and see it. It was incredible. The first year that it was open, we had 147 visits from everybody from trade associations, at-risk youth, curriculum planning committees, high schools, middle schools, technical and community colleges, universities. So we had somebody walking in the door here 3 or 4 times a week just in that first time that it was open. The people that we work with in education tend to be hands-on people. If you find your way into engineering, if you find your way into a technical field, if you find your way into STEM or manufacturing, you are somebody that likes working with your hands. And people like that learn by seeing and they learn by doing. So our tech center is a great opportunity for people to come, visit, see this technology firsthand, understand how we can apply it in education. And as I know you'll be talking about with my colleague, Mike Dietrich, train them to be able to utilize the technology. So it doesn't just begin and end with great curriculum and learning systems and e-learning and other delivery methods, but training those instructors and teachers to take this learning and take this technology into the classroom and into the lab is a really important part of what we do. And we do a tremendous amount of training here at our tech center as well.
That sounds like you offer a real nice turnkey solution. You make it easy for the schools to get everything they need in one place.
You sound like one of our customers because that's exactly what we do.
That's great. So I'm going to ask you, if we've got a lot of people watching these videos, what's one thing that you would really want them to walk away knowing about you guys?
I would tell you that the truth is that we are a 100% mission-driven company. I spent 23 years of my career in manufacturing, running manufacturing companies as a chief executive officer of 2 of them, as a chief operating officer of another one. And I have seen firsthand the way that manufacturing, the way that STEM transforms lives. Manufacturing and a lot of the other disciplines with which we work are still those places where you can start out sweeping the floor and end up running the company, or pause anywhere in the middle and have a really great, sustaining, life-changing, family-supporting career. That happens every single day in manufacturing. I saw that for 23 years running manufacturing companies. So we are a mission-driven company, and our mission is to secure the American dream for the next generation of STEM and manufacturing and workforce talent. And every member of our team gets up every day wanting to do that above and beyond anything else. We run a very successful business. Our business continues to grow at record pace and has for 5 or 6 years now. But underneath all that, and more important than any of that growth, more important than any financial success, is securing the American dream for the next generation. That's what we want people to know, because that's what we get up every day trying to do.
That's great. I can hear the passion in your voice, and I think that's what makes all the difference. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you guys, what's the best way to do that?
Work with one of our team members. We have an incredible team. We built it from the ground up, and every single person that you work with or meet that is a representative of ATS Lab Midwest is somebody who shares that mission, shares the belief that our job first and foremost is to secure the American dream. So we have, as we suggested, people all over our territory, and those folks are always available. We have a really strong social media presence. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. We have a really strong webinar Wednesday series. Every single Wednesday, we're producing another webinar. We've been doing that for well over a year now. Those are all on our YouTube channel. But the easiest way to find us is just to email our team, customer service at labmidwest.com or info@labmidwest.com. Those individuals will put you in touch with the right member of our team to be able to support whatever it is that you're looking to do.
All right, Matt. So we did a survey online, and we got people to submit a bunch of questions on what they wanted to know about CNC machines and 3D printing. Would you mind helping me answer a few of those today?
I would love to.
That's great. So our first question is going to be, how is 3D printing changing manufacturing today?
It's a really, really good question, and it's a fascinating question. Because when 3D printers first came on the market, everybody was looking at them like, oh my goodness, we're no longer going to have machining or die casting or injection molding or some of these other technologies. The truth of the matter is that at least at this point, 3D printing is still a long way from replacing some of those traditional manufacturing technologies. The manufacturers, and I was one for a long time, are always going to find the most efficient way to the end, the most efficient way to meet customer demand. And efficient isn't always the least expensive. We have to look at what is the least expensive, what is going to drive the most quality, what can we produce the most quickly, and how do we create a part, if you will, that matches exactly the application that we need. And so where 3D printing right now is starting to change manufacturing is really in the manufacturing process. We see 3D printing now for end-of-arm tools for robots as one example. We see 3D printing for work holding or fixtures in the manufacturing world. You can 3D print a CNC fixture to use in your CNC machine. And we can do that now out of more and more exotic materials than we've seen ever before. And so we're able to meet a wide range of applications in that regard. Plus, we can oftentimes 3D print parts that are intricate enough that it's really difficult to either machine them or produce them by other means. And so we see those applications. For now, it's really in the manufacturing process. The fact that we can really, really quickly create prototypes, we can really quickly create fixtures, we can test those. We don't have to wait 3 or 4 weeks or sometimes longer to get a new fixture in to test it. We can do all those things in real time. As the technology advances, you will start to see more and more applications in terms of replacing traditional manufacturing processes. But those are going to be, at least early on, applications where we're not producing millions and millions of parts. 3D printing, the disadvantages are, it takes a while to print a part. It's certainly more expensive in many cases to 3D print a part than it is to manufacture them using technologies like CNC machining, like injection molding and like casting. And so we're always going to find that balance. Manufacturers are going to find the most efficient way to manufacture the part, and they're going to use the technology that makes the most sense. As 3D printing advances in terms of speed, in terms of materials, and in terms of precision, you'll see more and more of those applications start to morph toward 3D printing, but there will be plenty of room in the market for all of those manufacturing processes for years and years to come.
That's great. That was a great answer.
My name is Mike Dietrich, and I'm the Vice President at ATS Lab Midwest in charge of K-12 education and instructor training. Today, we're talking about 3D printing and CNC in education.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me today. You probably heard we had some questions online that people want to know the answers to, and I hear you're the guy to help me answer them. So we're going to get started. First question that we had was, how can 3D printing and CNC machines be used in education?
That's a great question. And, what I see all over our territory is 3D printing is really, really popular. But what I'm starting to see more and more is just the applications are starting to change, where 3D printing can be used in collaboration with CNC. So when we take the engineering design process and we start to identify a problem and then design or put together some type of solution, we can use 3D printing to prototype that solution, run tests, change our design, be able to make continuous improvements. And then we can actually even get to the point where we use 3D printing for an end use part. So something that's strong or can be used for a specific application. But from there, what we often like to see is actually incorporating CNC machining, where we can actually use subtractive manufacturing to basically take that prototype and put it into a real world use situation. So we're seeing lots of things like, designing new end of arm tooling for robots, or working with different types of fixtures, or we even support a lot of FIRST robotics teams. And a lot of times they use 3D printing and CNC machining to create parts for their competition robots. So it's that application that's really exciting in education.
That's awesome. Have you ever watched any of those robot competitions?
Oh yeah, those kids are way smarter than I ever could be. And just to see them take what they've learned in the classroom and in the lab and then apply it into a real world setting and in a competition, it's fascinating to see. And we support those programs all the time.
That's awesome. We've had some of them come out here, and just the things that they think of. I mean, that's the future, and that's why I think all of this is so exciting. So speaking of stories, do you have any interesting success stories of people using 3D printing and CNC machines together?
Yeah, well, one of the really popular education trends in our territory is probably heard of it, something called a Fab Lab. And we support a lot of different Fab Lab programs. But what we really like to do is support those programs as they inject more authentic industrial skills in those programs. So we have a couple different schools in our territory. I actually like to call them fabrication labs, because they go through the engineering design process. They do prototyping. They use 3D printing for that application, but they don't stop there. So when they're actually doing real world authentic industrial skills, they're doing the prototyping, and then they actually go into the real world fabrication and manufacturing. So we have a few Fab Lab programs that they don't just stop with 3D printing. It's a part of the process. And then they get into things like injection molding or CNC machining, or using a Levil LMV 400 to mill out specific molds for that injection molding machine. Those are the really cool fabrication labs where we're seeing a lot of great success. And it's such a much more meaningful experience for the students, because then they can tie it directly to a career, whether it's a career in advanced manufacturing, a career in engineering, where they can actually understand how to build and create the parts that they design. Those are the real success stories that we're seeing, are those authentic industrial fabrication labs.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for helping me answer those questions today. And, hopefully we'll have a lot more and we can do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you.